of the most frustrating things when playing an online multiplayer game is when the server suffers such serious desyncs and rollbacks that players lose progress and lose items. And unfortunately, this is an issue that is plaguing Valheim at the moment. It's unclear exactly what percentage of the community this affects, but based on the daily Reddit posts describing this exact issue and my own personal experience, it's enough for me to justify making this video and making this tip sheet. G'day everyone, it's Taylor MB here, and today I want to run you through the things you need to do to stop desyncs and server rollbacks from happening. Before I implemented these strategies, I was desyncing from servers in my own household and from servers on the other side of the world in America. It absolutely did not matter. This would affect every multiplayer session I would join. But now that I've spent a lot of time experimenting and figuring this out, we have a solution that allows you to play 95 to 99% of the time completely uninterrupted without any desyncs or any rollbacks. So let's get into it. First thing, we just need a tiny bit of background info on how the networking in Valheim works. There's a great developer post on Steam that I'll put on screen. But essentially, the game is not server based and it's not peer-to-peer based. There is one person who has the world files on their computers and you can consider them the server. But as soon as people split up in your Valheim world, they each host an area around them. And where the problems arise is when these areas need to merge back together. So when you and your friends are running out in the wild and you split up because you see different objectives in different directions, the game will create two different host instances, and then when you meet up again, it needs to merge those instances back together. And that's where, especially if one of the players has bad internet, like myself, the game will almost immediately desync and start causing problems. So what can we do as players to prevent server desyncs and rollbacks from happening? Well, the first thing is more of a behavioral change that minimizes the opportunities the server has to desyncs. And although not an ideal solution for a multiplayer game, the suggestion is don't unnecessarily create and merge back instances over and over again if you don't need to. So if you and your friends are doing different things in the server, then keep doing separate things until you have a coordinated merging of instances. And the same thing if you're together. If you're planning to do something consistently together, then keep doing that and don't unnecessarily unmerge and remerge instances. The second thing is more of a mitigation if you notice the server is starting to desync. Make sure you have all valuables on your person and you do not put anything into chests. Your character is saved client side, but chests in the server are saved server side. So if you're noticing you're starting to desync, do not deposit anything in a chest because your computer will correctly save that you are removing these items from your inventory. But if the server is already desynced, then the server is not going to know you're putting those items in a chest. So when you log out and log back in, those items will simply be gone. They won't be in your player and they won't be in the chest. The third and final thing you need to do to prevent desyncs and rollbacks from happening is really the crux of my advice to you today. It applies when you have two or more people adventuring together in the same server, in the same area. So what you need to do is make sure one person consistently hosts the instance that everyone is fighting in. Now this has two parts to it. Firstly, you need to determine who has the host of the instance that you're in. The easiest way to do this is for anyone not hosting to portal away from the person who is hosting. So then they own the place, probably at your portal hub or your main base, wherever it is you left them. And then everyone individually portals into their instance, and that will mean they're the host because they were there first. The second thing is they need to stay host of the instance when you're adventuring. That means if you need to go through any more portals, then they're the first ones through. It means when you're exploring the plains and bashing goblins, they're the ones who need to tank out the front and lead the charge. You physically the person with bad internet who causes the desyncs, in this scenario, it's always me. I physically need to stay behind the person who is hosting to make sure they keep hosting as we move into new areas. So the game does have quite a bit of leeway with how far away you can go from someone and still be within their host instance. But it's always best practice to stick by their side, but also stick slightly behind them. So they are always the ones who are loading the new areas and hosting the new areas. And I guarantee if you follow this advice flawlessly, you will never have a problem with server desyncs or rollbacks again. The reason at the start of the video I said this was 95 to 99% effective was because you can't, in the heat of battle, you can't always guarantee that you're not going to get separated or run off into different directions. So if you can follow this advice flawlessly, it will work for you 100% of the time and you will never have an issue. But in reality, it's about 95% effective, which is still incredibly good. I hope I've been able to shed some light onto these issues that the game has, and I really hope this advice will completely solve your multiplayer problems for me. I spent several weeks being really upset about not being able to play with my friends, but after a lot of experimenting, we finally figured out how to make it work, and it has been absolutely amazing since then. So I hope you guys can replicate this on your own servers. Thanks for listening to the videos. Get out there, Vikings. See you next time.